Hey, 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 what's going on? So, I think I'm in school today, but my throat is still a little sore. So, I don't know about reading 4 times in one day. So, I'm going to read once, record it so we can play it in class. But I think I'm in class today. I've taken 2 tests, they've come back negative. So, I don't see why I can't come to school. So, unless somebody tells me I can't come to school, I am there, maybe in the back of the room. If not, hopefully there is a sub. So let's continue reading. Yesterday, I'm hoping you saw the first part of the new novel we are reading, Crash. We have a main character. Her name's Jules. We have a love interest. His name is Sawyer. Complications, right? The two families don't get along. In high school, you might read Romeo and Juliet. It takes place in Italy. So this makes me think of Romeo and Juliet. You have two families who are feuding, and they both own Italian restaurants. And you have two teenagers who are in love, or at least one is in love with the other. It's kind of like Romeo and Juliet. In Romeo and Juliet by William Shakespeare, maybe you've heard of that guy. There are two families. They are feuding, and well, like in most Shakespearean plays, every pretty much everybody dies at the end. Spoiler alert. So if you're ever in high school, hopefully you will be in high school in a couple of years, next year, and the teacher asks you, "Hey, what happens?" You just say, "Pretty much everybody dies." At least in the Shakespearean tragedies. There are other things called comedies. They're not really funny. They're just the opposite of a tragedy where everything is just awful. I mean, some of the comedies are funny, but not always. When you hear Shakespearean comedy, don't think funny. Instead, at the end of the play, there's a marriage. Usually, two or more characters have a marriage. Sometimes some Shakespeare. We're not talking about Shakespeare here. We're talking about Lisa McMahon and Crash. So let me bring up that right there. Hopefully you can see it. I can make it even bigger. It's just there's a little corner that gets cut off with my picture. I can totally get rid of me, which is probably good, but I'll be here just in the corner. How about that? And every time, ooh, sometimes when I get onto the new page, it just messes everything up. This time it didn't. It's right where I want it to be. Can I highlight on here? Yes, I can. So we're going to start right there. How about that? Right there. Because yesterday, when we ended, she was talking about how when they were younger, her being Jules and Sawyer really got along. And then the father found out, Jules' father, and then everything went downhill from there. So let's start reading. And back then, I'd moon around in my room. I think when she says moon here, it means like mope. Mope. Maybe it's a typo. I don't know. And back then, I'd mope around in my room after Roan was asleep, pretending my pillow was Sawyer. Me and my Sawyer pillow would lie down on my bed, facing one another, and I'd imagine us in Bulger Park on a blanket, ignoring the tree frogs and pigeons and little crying kids. I'd touch his cheek. Now, picture this. This is with a pillow. Pretty pathetic, but she is in love with him. I'd touch his cheek and push his hair back, and he'd look at me with his gorgeous green eyes and that crooked, shy grin of his. And then he'd lean towards me, and we'd both hold our breath without realizing it. And his lips would touch mine, and then it'd be my first kiss, which I'd never forget. And no matter how much our parents tried to keep us apart, but he'd never break my heart. Top of the next column. Oh, sigh. But then, on the day before seventh grade started, When it was time to visit school to check out classes and get our books, his father was there with him. And my father was there with me. And I did something terrible. Without thinking, I smiled and waved at my friend. He smiled back. And I bit my lip because of love and delight after not seeing him for the whole summer. And his father saw me. He frowned, looked up at my father, scowled, and then grabbed Sawyer's arm and pulled him away, giving my father one last heated glance. My father grumbled all the way home, issuing half sentence threats under his breath. That was the end of that. I don't know what his father said or did to him that day, but by the next day, Sawyer Agnotti was no longer my friend. Whoever said seventh grade is the worst year of your life was right. Sawyer turned our friendship off like a faucet. Excuse me, but I can't help it. My faucet of love has a really bad leak, and that, in my opinion, is a really bad metaphor. So it is a metaphor. She's saying her faucet of love. She's not saying it's like a faucet of love. She's saying her faucet of love. That's really bad metaphor there. I think there was something else I wanted to say, but I forgot. So let's keep reading unless I remember what I wanted to say. How about that? Oh, the part about the seventh grade. The seventh grade, that seventh grade is the worst year of your life. I think it is. And when you had COVID totally messing up your seventh grade year, I mean, some of you were in my class last year, and you might remember me saying, "Hey, if any year has to be totally messed up by COVID, the seventh grade. You all were lucky." Unfortunately, your sixth grade was at least a third messed up. And this year, it's not exactly like everything is normal, right? All right. But if you have to have any years messed up, middle school are good years to have messed up. Trey parks the truck as close to the field museum as our permit allows. Figuring since the weather is actually sunny and not too freezing and windy, people might prefer to grab a quick meal from a food truck instead of eating the overpriced generic stuff inside the tourist trap. Do we say where this story takes place, the setting? If we haven't, maybe I can pause. Oh, look at that. It's going to mess up. Um, I can pause the video right here. So the setting, remember setting is two things. Most people remember place, but it's also time. And we have learned a good term for this time period. I don't want to say too much, but I'll pause the video now. And then if anybody knows it, they'll hopefully raise their hand and say it. And hopefully they said time, probably present day. I mean, I don't know if we've heard any cell phones yet, but they do have cars and movies. So probably present day, and the city is Chicago. I'm not sure, or right outside of Chicago, I think. I don't know if we've talked about that yet or not. All right, back to the book. And this thing will probably mess up again. Oh, yeah, there it goes. Where were we? That was the end of that. Look at it. It's just okay. All right. Field Museum. We were right here. Beep. And now it moved again. Come on. Right here. We're right at the bottom there. Before we open the window for business, we set up. Trey checks the meat sauce while I grate fresh mozzarella into tiny, easily meltable nubs. All right, that's a pretty cool sentence there. Easily meltable nubs. It's a simple operation. Our winter truck specialty is an Italian bread bowl with spicy mini meatballs, sauce, and cheese. The truth is, it's delicious, even though I'm sick to death of them. We also serve our pizza by the slice, and we're talking deep dish Chicago style, not that thin crap that Ignati's serves. authentic, oshumentic. I think that's something like authentic, oshumentic. That's not a real word. The tourists want the hearty, crusty, saucy stuff with slices of sausage the diameter of my bicep and bubbling cheese that stretches the length of your forearm. That's what we got. And it's amazing. Oh, but the agnotti sauce. I had it once, even though in our house it's contraband. I should pause right here because we have some very intelligent people. And as the thing messes up again, contraband. I will pause. You don't have to look it up. I'm just wondering, does anybody know what contraband means? So I'm sure I just paused the video. Contraband means anything that's illegal. So drugs, contraband. You have to sneak it through security. That's what I think, like a gun in an airport would be considered contraband. If you lived in like a communist country, like the Soviet Union, back before it became Russia, contraband might be religious symbols like a cross or the Quran. Couldn't have anything religious in Soviet Union, so that would be contraband. All right, back to the story. Come on, don't. Yeah, why do you always do that to me? All right, contraband. Look at this. This is way back now. Way back. It's kind of at the bottom here, I think, right? But it's contraband. Their sauce will lay you flat. Seriously, it's that good. We even have the recipe, apparently, but we can't use it because it's patented and they sell it by the jar. It's in all the local stores and some regional ones now, too. My dad always has an aneurysm when that happened. Sorry, my dad about had an aneurysm when that happened because, according to dad, in one of his mumble grumble fits, the Ignatys had been after our recipe for generations and somehow managed to steal it from us. We'll have to wait until the end, until this all plays out, but it is pretty jaw dropping to figure out how they stole the recipe. And you'll know like why the two families hate each other. You'll also know a little bit about why the dad has I would say some issues mentally. So I guess that's how the whole rivalry started. From what I understand, and from what I know about Sawyer avoiding me like the plague, his parents feel the same way about us as my parents feel about them. Looks like my computer is going to lose its battery unless I plug it in. And I was able to. All right, after those three little stars there, Trey and I pull off a really decent day of sales for the middle of January. We hightail it back home for the dinner rush so we can help Rowan out. As we get close, we pass the billboard from the other side. I locate it in my side mirror, and it's the same as this morning, explosion. I watch it grow small and disappear, and then close my eyes, wondering what the hell is wrong with me. All right, this is called Crash. This is actually part of a trilogy. And remember, trilogy is a series of 3 books. Trilogy, just like a tricycle, just like a triceratops, has 3 horns on it. So a trilogy. There's Crash. The second book is Bang. And the third book is called Gasp. And they're all different characters that are the main character. They're all somewhat connected, but each main character in those books, they have a premonition. So they have visions, I guess, of something that's going to happen before it actually happens. They get little glimpses of, for whatever reason, of something bad that's going to happen. Bang I believe, it's been like 10 years since I've read it. I was looking up when I bought this Kindle book, and it was back in 2014. But I think I bought it after I read the actual book. So I think it's been 10 years. But I think Bang is about a school shooting. I think it's a school shooting. And the person gets a premonition of somebody being shot, and they have to figure out how to stop it. In this one, we're gonna find out like Jules is getting, and it'll get more. Like she will get more of this vision, and depending on what she does, sometimes she can change it for the worse. I hope I'm not saying too much here. And then the last one, Gasp, is I think about somebody drowning. So the good part about this book, as we continue to read, if you really like it, there are two more books in the series, okay, in the trilogy. I'm going to go back to the story and it will probably lose our place. No. Wow. What do you know? Ah, there we go. There we go. What, literally, why does this keep doing it? Is because I'm sharing the screen? Oh my gosh, this went way back to the beginning. Okay, I just saw it right here. Okay. Hopefully you can see that. Ooh, now it highlights everything. I saw another minor swear word. Maybe I'll change it. This is where we start. We pull into the alley and park the truck. Take the stuff inside. Get your butts out there. Rowan hisses as she flies through the kitchen. Remember, that's the little sister. She gets a little anxious when people have to wait 10 seconds. That kid is extremely well put together, but she carries the responsibility of practically the whole country on her shoulders. Mom is rolling out dough. I give her a kiss on the cheek and shake the bank bag in her face to show her I'm on the way to putting it in the safe like I'm supposed to. Pretty good day. Had a busload of 24, I say. Fabulous, Mom says, way too perky. She grabs a tasting utensil, reaches into a nearby pot, and forks a meatball out for me. I let her shove it into my mouth when I pass her again. It's good. She says it's good, but her mouth is full. I say, and really freaking hot. It burns the roof of my mouth before I can shift it between my teeth to let it cool. And I'm not sure if you've ever had pizza that's been so hot that it burns the roof of your mouth, but cheese can be pretty bad. Luckily, that meatball doesn't have any cheese. Tony, the cook who has been working for our family restaurant for something like 40 million years, smiles at me. Nice work today, Julia. He says, Tony is one of the few people I allow to call me by my birth name. Everybody else, remember, calls her Jules. I guess my dad, Antonio, was actually named after Tony. Tony and my grandfather came to America together. Top of the next column. I don't really remember my grandpa much. He killed himself when I was little. Depression. A couple of years ago, I accidentally found it was suicide when I overheard Mom and Aunt Mary talking about it. When I asked my mom about it later, she didn't deny it. Instead, she said, but you kids don't have any sign of depression in you, so don't worry. You're all fine, which was about the best way to make me think I'm doomed. It's a weird thing to find out about your family, you know? Made me feel really different for the rest of the day. And it still does now whenever I think about it. Like we're all wondering where the depression poison will hit next. We're all looking at my dad. I wonder if that's why my mother is so upbeat all the time. Maybe she thinks she can protect us with her happy shield. Trey and I hurry to wash up, grab fresh aprons, and check in with Aunt Mary at the hostess stand. She's seating somebody, so we take a look at the chart and see the house is pretty full. No wonder Rowan's freaking out. Rowan's 15 and a freshman. Just as Trey is 16 months older than me, she's 16 months younger. I don't know if my parents planned it, and I don't want to know, but there it is. I pretty much think they had us for the sole purpose of working for the family business. We started washing dishes and bussing tables years ago. I'm not sure if it was legal, but it was definitely tradition. Top of the next column. Rowan looks relieved to see us. She's got the place under control as usual. Hey, baby, go take a break. I whisper to her in passing. Nah, I'm good. I'll finish out my tables, she says. I glance at the clock. Technically, Rowan is supposed to quit at 7 because she's not 16 yet. She can only work late in the summer. But, well, tradition trumps rules sometimes. Not that my parents are slave drivers or anything. They're not. This is just their life. That's all they know. It's a busy night because of the holiday. Busy is good. Busy means we can pay the rent and whatever else comes up. Something always does. By 10:30, all the customers have left. Even though dad hasn't come down all this evening to help out. Mom says she and Tony can handle closing up alone, and she sends Trey and me upstairs to the apartment to get some sleep. I don't want to go up there. Neither does Trey. So, I had that small. Sorry about that. I wanted to make it big again, but you saw a little bit too much of me, which is not good. I'd rather you see the page. All right, so we can speculate, we can guess as to why they don't want to go up, and I think that's probably what we should do right now. So I'll stop the video here, and then we can have a discussion on what we've just read, and then you can have some time to work on your project, your mini posters. I don't want to freak anybody out by calling it a project. It's a mini poster. File phobia. All right.